Thank you.
Is there anything stopping the Conservatives from bringing forward more non-confidence motions on your future Oppo days?
Just the Liberals give.
Pierre Poilievre has finally taken the bold step that many Canadians have been waiting for. He's officially demanded new elections by calling for a vote of non-confidence in Justin Trudeau's government. This isn't just a sudden move. It's the result of months of growing frustration with the Liberal NDP coalition and the crumbling state of Trudeau's leadership. For 9 years, Canadians have watched as Trudeau's policies led to skyrocketing inflation, unaffordable housing, and a food bank crisis that seems to be getting worse by the day. It's clear that the country needs a change, and Poilievre is stepping up to deliver just that.
We want a carbon tax election as soon as possible so that we can axe Trudeau's tax before he quadruples it to 61 cents a litre.
Unlike Trudeau, who keeps doubling down on bad decisions, Poilievre is offering Canadians hope for a fresh start. Frankly, Trudeau's incompetence makes it easy to see why Poilievre had no choice but to make this move. Trudeau has been dragging the country down for too long, and now it's time for the Liberals to be shown the door. Adding to the political drama is Jagmeet Singh, who recently made headlines with his breakup video, where he publicly declared that the NDP's alliance with Trudeau was over. It was a move that looked more like a political stunt than anything genuine. Singh is trying to distance himself from the Liberals, but let's be real, it's hard to take him seriously when he's been propping up Trudeau's government for years.
Bloc and the NDP have said they'll vote against the Conservatives' motion, and the Liberals will, live to or survive to live another day.
His flip-flopping doesn't fool anyone. It's just a desperate attempt to save face while pretending he's not part of the problem. Singh's so-called breakup with Trudeau feels like a bad reality TV episode, and at this point, nobody's buying his sudden change of heart. Meanwhile, the Bloc Québécois has been playing their own game. They've been critical of Trudeau's policies, but have also hinted that they might still support him, if he meets their demands, of course. It's clear they're trying to have it both ways, criticizing Trudeau while keeping the door open for backroom deals. The Bloc's stance has only added to the uncertainty, leaving everyone wondering whether they'll side with Poilievre or keep Trudeau hanging on by a thread. But let's face it, relying on the Bloc to keep him afloat just shows how weak Trudeau's position really is. It's pathetic to watch him scramble for support, proving once again that his leadership has run its course. Trudeau's desperation is on full display, and the Bloc knows it. Trudeau has proven time and again that he's completely out of touch with the struggles of ordinary Canadians. The housing market is a disaster, millions are relying on food banks, and crime is on the rise. It's no surprise that Poilievre finally said, "Enough is enough. Canadians deserve better than a government that can't even manage basic economic stability." Poilievre's call for a vote of non-confidence is a direct response to the complete failure of Trudeau's leadership. If Trudeau had any sense of responsibility, he would have stepped down long ago, but of course, we know he's too arrogant for that. Then came the cherry on top, Jagmeet Singh's viral breakup video. Singh dramatically announced that the NDP was done with Trudeau, calling it quits on their informal coalition. It was supposed to be a bold move, but it felt more like political theater. Singh acted like he was finally standing up against Trudeau, but let's not forget that he's been Trudeau's biggest enabler for years.
We need to fire this costly carbon tax coalition so we can elect a common sense government that will bring it home for them.
It's almost laughable how he now pretends to be outraged by the very policies he supported this whole time. Singh's attempt to distance himself from the Liberals reeks of desperation, and frankly, it's hard to take him seriously after all this flip-flopping. If Singh thinks this sudden change of heart is going to save him politically, he's in for a rude awakening. The latest polls are painting a pretty clear picture. Pierre Poilievre is in a very strong position to take over, and it seems like Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh are headed for a crushing defeat. According to recent projections, Poilievre's Conservative Party is looking at 219 seats, with the possibility of going as high as 240. That's a huge number, and it shows just how fed up Canadians are with the current government. Meanwhile, Trudeau's Liberals are projected to win only 68 seats, a humiliating fall from grace for a prime minister who once seemed untouchable. Even worse, Jagmeet Singh's NDP is sitting at a pathetic 14 projected seats, barely hanging on by a thread. The writing is on the wall for both Trudeau and Singh. Canadians have had enough of their broken promises and failed policies. Watching their numbers tank like this must be a bitter pill for them to swallow, but they've brought it on themselves.
This Prime Minister will claim that it's not his fault that he added more debt than all previous prime ministers combined.
Poilievre's rising popularity isn't just a flash in the pan. It's a sign that Canadians are craving real leadership, not more of the same tired talking points from Trudeau and Singh. While Trudeau's numbers continue to nosedive, Poilievre is connecting with voters in a way that no one has seen in years. His clear, common-sense solutions to the country's problems are resonating with people who are sick of Trudeau's hollow platitudes and Singh's political games. Canadians are tired of paying more for everything while their wages stay the same, and they're tired of politicians who seem more interested in virtue signaling than actually fixing the economy. Poilievre is offering a real alternative, and the numbers don't lie. His odds of winning a majority government are looking better every day. Trudeau's latest move to cut down on immigration and student visas is yet another sign that his government is scrambling to fix problems of its own making. Recently, Trudeau announced a reduction in the number of international student permits by 35%, with an additional 10% cut next year. He's also capping international work permits, all while pretending this is about protecting the system from bad actors. But let's be honest, this sudden change isn't about protecting anything. It's about damage control.
As we move forward, Canada remains a place that is positive in its support for immigration, but also responsible in the way we...
For years, Trudeau's government has allowed the immigration system to be abused, and now, under pressure from the U.S., he's being forced to tighten things up. It's not a thoughtful policy shift. It's a desperate reaction to mounting problems. Trudeau's inability to manage immigration has hurt Canada's international reputation, and now he's trying to cover it up by making cuts that hurt students and the economy. It's typical Trudeau, always a day late and a dollar short. Pierre Poilievre hasn't hesitated to call out Trudeau's mishandling of immigration, pointing out that these changes are reactive, not proactive. According to Poilievre, Trudeau's sudden crackdown is being driven by pressure from the United States, particularly after multiple incidents where people abusing Canadian immigration loopholes posed security threats. One high-profile case involved a person on a student visa planning a major terrorist attack in New York, which was thankfully foiled by U.S. authorities. This led to the U.S. pushing Canada to take action, essentially forcing Trudeau's hand. Poilievre argues that if Trudeau had been managing immigration responsibly from the start, we wouldn't be in this position. Instead, Trudeau has let the system become a free-for-all, and now that the U.S. is stepping in, he's scrambling to save face. It's almost comical how reactive his government has become, always waiting for someone else to tell them what to do. These cuts have broader implications for Canada's international reputation and its economy. For years, Canada has attracted talented international students who contribute not only to the country's universities but also to the workforce. Cutting back on student visas and work permits is a short-sighted move that could hurt Canada's ability to attract skilled workers in the future. It sends the message that Canada is no longer as open or welcoming, especially when it comes to students who often transition into highly skilled jobs. The Bloc's stance is crucial because it could determine whether or not new elections happen. If the Bloc decides that Trudeau isn't delivering enough for Quebec, they could vote against him in a non-confidence motion, tipping the scales in favor of an early election. But if the Liberals manage to meet some of their demands, the Bloc might support Trudeau just long enough to keep his government afloat. It's a classic case of political brinkmanship, with Quebec's interests being the main bargaining chip. Blanchet knows that he has the power to either trigger an election or keep Trudeau in office a little longer, and he's using that power to maximize Quebec's leverage.
And if things are bad now, Pierre Poilievre is proposing a future that will be even worse. So we are here to stop conservative cuts.
Trudeau is left in a desperate position, trying to appease the Bloc while watching his support crumble everywhere else. It's almost sad to see Trudeau so dependent on the Bloc's goodwill, but at this point, it's clear that his government is being held together by a thread. Trudeau's grip on power is slipping, and the Bloc knows it. The outcome of Pierre Poilievre's vote of non-confidence might have disappointed some Canadians hoping for immediate elections, but it wasn't entirely unexpected. Both Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau predictably voted against the motion, effectively blocking any chance of an election, for now. It's almost laughable how Singh, after all his big talk about breaking up with Trudeau, still couldn't bring himself to vote for new elections. Instead, he sided with the very man he claimed to be done with. Typical Jagmeet.
And so that's why we're not going to let Pierre Poilievre tell us what to do. We're not going to listen to someone who wants to cut the things that people need.
Meanwhile, key figures like Poilievre and Larry Brock were all in, supporting the motion and pushing for what many Canadians want, a chance to oust this failing government. Unfortunately, the motion didn't pass, leaving Trudeau and Singh clinging to power just a little longer. It's a frustrating outcome, but it shows just how much of a stranglehold these two have on Canadian politics. For now, no new elections are on the horizon, though things are far from settled. Trudeau and Singh may have dodged the bullet this time, but their days of skating by on empty promises are numbered.
But how can you say this when you've said Trudeau must go repeatedly? How do you square that?
In the next election, people have a choice. I stand by my words. Trudeau has let you.
As the dust settles from this vote, the political landscape remains as volatile as ever. The question now is whether another vote of non-confidence could be on the horizon, and it's a very real possibility. The political situation is fluid, with parties like the Bloc Québécois holding the power to sway future votes.
And when that election comes, we want to make it very clear. I do not believe that Justin Trudeau deserves a second chance. He has let you down. He has let you down.
If the Bloc decides that their demands aren't being met, or if the NDP finally grows a spine and turns against Trudeau for real, we could easily see another push for elections. Poilievre has made it clear that he's not backing down, and he'll likely continue to apply pressure on Trudeau's government until something gives. The next few months will be critical in determining whether Trudeau can hold on to power or whether his government will finally collapse under the weight of its failures. The Bloc and the NDP are the wild cards in this situation. The Bloc has already shown that they're willing to negotiate with Trudeau if it benefits Quebec, but their support is far from guaranteed. If Trudeau can't deliver on their demands, such as pension increases or protecting Quebec's supply management system, they could easily shift gears and throw their support behind another vote of non-confidence.
It's time for the Bloc and the NDP to stop boosting carbon taxes and protecting this costly prime.
The NDP is still playing its confusing game of pretending to oppose Trudeau while propping him up. If Singh ever decides to actually stand by his words, the NDP could be the key to toppling the Liberal government. But knowing Singh's track record, it's hard to say whether he'll ever truly break free from Trudeau's grasp. In any case, the possibility of new elections is still very much alive, even if they aren't happening just yet. Trudeau can't rely on the Bloc and NDP forever, and when their patience runs out, so will his time in office.